video about teaching English in Japan, made while I'm cutting up stuff. Yeah, so I've said it before, my main gig here is I work at a Buddhist temple, but I've done English teaching part-time, still do it for a bit of extra money. I'll sort of go through it, the different types of English teaching I've done. Quick heads up, let's start right from the sort of the lower stage of teachers, hoikuin, which is Japanese for kindergarten teaching. That is a mission. You got to kind of, well, I worked for a company, just sent me here, there to various hoikuins, various, I'll say kindergartens, and they generally give you a set thing to teach from. You've got to learn little dance moves, like we just go, how's the weather, it's raining, and stuff. And you got, well, the last time I did it was CDs. I suppose now just plug in your phone or something, or some app, but that's the tracks. And then you just got cards to hold up and stuff. And yeah, it's physically, it's very tiring. And my voice used to go badly. I remember I had 4 classes back to back, 25 minutes each with 5 minutes changeover time in a hall. And yeah, that, and a lot depends on your assistant teachers. Like, I always had sort of young, well, the companies I did it for had the various, but just generally young Japanese women, and they were really good. I could rely on them quite a lot. A mate of mine had a really bad experience with this one woman, and she was with him on every job, and there was something wrong with her, and she just took against him, and she made his life really difficult, his work really difficult. He was here for a year, Canadian guy, Dan, and yeah, can't go into that. She was just basically a complete bitch and just made it really hard for him. But luckily I never had that. The young women, they've all been women, they've just been really professional and on the ball. As long as you do your part of the deal, they're fine. I teach by myself at one nursery. It's basically where my children used to go, so I just carry on going back there, and I play guitar and just make up these songs like hello, 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 how are you, and like read The Hungry Caterpillar. If you can teach them 1 or 2 words like sun and caterpillar or leaf or tree or anything, that's success. And just basically play the fool and muck in and give them a laugh. They love all that. But that's if you do it yourself, which is unlikely, more likely to end up working for a company, especially if they're sponsoring your visa or something. And then you just, just play by the whatever materials they give you, and hope you get an all right assistant teacher or teachers. Next up, so going to children. So school, like secondary schools or something, or high schools, I've never done that, so I wouldn't know. I've got friends who do, and it seems to be a pretty steady job. The main thing here, teaching, to remember, right, for some reason it's this thing, you've always got to be like, or commonly you've got to be like really hyper cheerful, almost over the top sometimes. So the way foreigners are portrayed, it's basically because we're viewed, well, something deep in the Japanese character views us as being a bit scary. Maybe the way we forced ourselves on a closed nation back in the day, the black ships and all of that. So it's like we've got to compensate for that. We've got to be like, yeah, you see it on TV. The foreigner's always a bit divvy and stuff. So I taught for a children's for a company that taught children. I won't give the name of it, but they're across Japan, and they actually fired me. They said I wasn't cheerful enough. And they said I made the kids scared. It was a complete lie. Basically, this old dragon who was involved with the company just took against me, and that can happen. I've heard of it happen. It's happened to me. There's nothing you can do about it. Straight from word go. As soon as I met her, I knew she just didn't like me. We were teaching one day. We had a full day of, we call it kids interviews, where they just come in with their teachers, various teachers, because it's a franchise operation, and you sit there and the kids sort of points out various things. Can be a picture of a fair or something. You say, oh, where's the clown, or all this sort of thing. And anyway, it was really busy. I was working for a great assistant teacher again, and she said to me, look, she said, I'm sorry, can you just take a quarter of an hour for your lunch, not an hour, we're running behind, we'll make it up to you and pay. I said, yeah, that's fine. So I just had a quarter of an hour, not even, I think it was 10 minutes. So I just grabbed the sandwich from the convenience store, and I went and I hid myself away. It's called the Brick Hall in Nagasaki. and round the back there's this sort of the gardens, and there's very sort of winding pathway. Sort of hid myself away in there so I wouldn't get spotted. And this old dragon, she dragged a load of kids through to meet me. She purposely sought me out, knowing I only had 10 minutes. So I had a mouthful of sandwich, you know. And then she said to me, "Where's your smile?" You know. Anyway, I don't take kindly to that. And anyway, so that's the only job I've ever been fired from. And the teacher who helped me said said she didn't know what was going on, but you know, they can't do anything because they can't, you know, why should they put their necks on the block? What else? Right, yes, so business English, moving up. So let's say business English. I taught for several years, had a part-time gig at a major Japanese company, major, starts with an M, teaching there. That was good money, every Wednesday, 2 hours. It was from 4 to 6. Now these employers I was teaching were meant to stop work at 5, and from 5 to 6 that was called self-development period, right, which is the Japanese, it's English, but it's Japanese for unpaid overtime, right? Here English is just used, it's almost like a punishment. It's always sort of, or often employees have got to do it in their lunch hour, or they've got to do it like, say, unpaid overtime, and they call it some bull like self-development period. So you can meet some people that don't like that, students, not unreasonably, and they'll take it out on you. They can't do it to their company because they're kind of institutionalized, a lot of them, or whatever the word is, but they'll take it out on you, the foreigner. So you basically got to suck that up because the money was pretty good. The only time I sort of got a bit rebellious was one time I got there at 4 and no students came to my lesson. I stayed there till 5:30, then I left. Got home, I rang the head office that contracted me out to this company, and I said, you know, no one turned up. And they said, well, you should have, you know, and they said, you've got to go into the departments of this major company, go into the departments and find out where they are and ask them to come to your lesson. And I said, absolutely no way, I'm not doing that. They know where I am, it's in this timetable, I'm going to be there. There's no way, I'm chasing people up going through this building. You know, you coming to your English lesson? That's what they wanted, to show some sort of, like, show the foreigner who's boss, basically. That's what it is. It sounds a bit paranoid, but that is what it is. It's a kind of, you've always sort of got to have the upper hand a bit. And so it all went a bit terse, but I never had that problem again. And I've heard that from others as well. But some people, luckily I've never been relying on it for my visa, you see. I'm married, I've got a spousal visa. In fact, I've got a permanent visa now, but other people have had to sort of actually do what I've just said, like chase up their students and do the sort of, you know, ultra polite, smiley, foreigner bit, trying to get these people to go to their lesson, like they should do anyway. And if they don't do it, their visa's gone, they're out, because they haven't got a job anymore. What else? The best, well, let's quickly do juku. Juku is Japanese for cramming school. That's commonly evenings or weekends. I've only done one juku and that was pretty good. Yeah, the guy running it was pretty straight down the line guy, by which I mean there was no nonsense. You got there on time, you did your work. He did the syllabus just from a textbook. He was pretty strict on the syllabus, which I loved because I didn't have to do any preparation, just follow it exactly, it was just laid out. He sat on in my first lesson, gave me a couple of pointers, nothing major, pretty reasonable what he said, he wasn't nitpicking. I changed a bit to suit his class, and yeah, it was good. Did it for a year, I think, on and off. It was on and off. Yeah, and I really liked the students. They were quite cheerful. I remember one time it was Christmas and they were playing Wham's, well, Wham, the English band, and they had a big hit in the 80s with Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart. And this girl was like, Sensei, what? I gave you my heart? Like literally like ripping it out of your chest. And I was like, no, you know, trying to explain what I gave you my love. Anyway, but that aside, but yes, that was fine. But that's just one experience of juku. But I haven't actually heard any bad experiences of juku. I mean, I could tell you stories for a couple of hours, but of experiences I've heard. I'm trying to be as concise as possible for my own experiences over 10 years, but stories I've heard, some terrible and some pretty good. And the last one is, well, for me, the last is private lessons. Easily the best in my experience. most interesting. Private lessons. If this won't be the last one, I'll do one more. You've got people, they want to learn, they're turning out, they're paying, it's in their time, they're paying the money. I'd one, like they might want specifically what they want doing. I had a doctor, I taught a doctor for a couple of years, and he'd bring in stuff he wanted me to look at. And it was interesting for me because I was learning like all this medical jargon and stuff. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, so they're generally motivated to learn. You're not getting any, they're not sitting there sort of like that, like you get in some of these business English classes for firms when they want to sulk or show they don't want to be there. They just stay at the desk. There is one more to say, which is that like English language companies. It's quite a big one actually. I'm surprised I almost forgot about it. Stuff like Nova and stuff. I don't know if they're completely defunct now. I think there might be a few branches still running. But my mate did that in the day, and that is really like, it's just, you're a commodity and you have got to do the hyper cheerful Genki bit. I mean, one of my friends was told, a woman, he was just about to start a class, a new student, and the management said to him, oh, this student said she's really scared of foreigners, so please make sure you're extra smiley. I mean, can you imagine saying that? I mean, in England, you know, said to a Japanese member of staff in England, say, who's teach Japanese, this English guy said he's really scared of you Japanese, so please make sure you're extra smiley. I mean, they wouldn't even accept a student like that. It's just instant racism. It's just mad, but that's quite standard here. So he had to, oh sure, and he had to be like extra smiley. Apparently this woman sat there like that, you know, and she didn't want to learn or anything. It was just like to say she'd been in the company of a foreigner or something. Anyway, but so that, and it's pretty, you know, battery chicken work, and I think it was pretty awful. And he said you've got some very strange people. Apparently one guy used to sit there and pick his scabs, and something like that. And other people he said were fine, but he said this is a friend of mine talking. He worked for a company. I'm not saying which it is. I was using Nova as a example of one company, of that type of company. But it was steady work, and so that's kind of a quick overview of teaching English. Now there's many more experiences out there than that, but that's what I've experienced in 10 years, or a brief overview anyway. Okay, cheers.